I never seen an animal that shits as much as a chicken.
That too. That too. And you got to watch them. You don't put them in, you'll be short a few chickens the next day. Yeah.
Hey y'all, welcome back to the Real Country Podcast. This is Nikki, and our guest today is up-and-coming singer-songwriter from West Texas, cowboy and lover of the Western way of life, Mr. Hayden Redwine.
How are you doing?
Hey, good. How are you?
Good.
Properly caffeinated now that we've got the coffee. So thanks for being on.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
Of course. So I hear that you're in Nashville for the first time.
This is my first time ever.
What do you think so far?
I don't know. I had an hour or two to drive around, and I ended up in some places I probably shouldn't have. And it was fun though. I went down Broadway and looked at that for a minute and checked it out. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, but you've only been here since last night.
Yeah, I got in about midnight last night.
Okay, but he drove here all the way from West Texas. How long of a drive was that?
14 hours. Yeah.
Wow, that's impressive.
Yeah.
And did it take you 14 hours straight, or it was like a couple days?
No, I left this yesterday morning at 8:30.
Yeah, that's really impressive. Made good time. Yeah. I mean, so you're from West Texas, right? Born and raised, like have been there your whole life. What part?
I'm from a little town called Cowriting City, so it's probably the halfway point between Abilene and Midland, Odessa, just right down I-20.
Okay,
yes,
yeah.
Ma'am.
And Texas, they've got so much good music coming out of that state.
Oh,
it's wild. I love it. It's like its own, it's almost like its own industry. I feel like it is. There's so much stuff just circulating throughout Texas.
It's got its own scene for sure, and lots of talented musicians down there too.
Oh my gosh, yes. And you've played with quite a few of them. You've been playing a lot around Texas, which is awesome to see.
Ma'am.
Who's been one of those moments where you're like, wow, I never thought I'd share the stage with you?
Well, the first band that actually took me out for a tour, they let me go on the bus with them. Didn't have to follow them around. They were just letting me open acoustic for them. Was Reckless Kelly, and I'd been listening to them for a long time.
Yeah.
And I met Cody Braun when I was there in Austin, and he offered for me to come do those shows, and I was just beside myself that I was getting to, be with those guys every day for a month and a half and share the stage and then go out and hang with them. I wasn't ready for that.
Yeah.
I thought I was, and they broke me in pretty good.
There you
for
go.
The road.
Yep. Sometimes you just get thrown into the fire, trial by fire.
That's it.
He figured it out live. Reckless Kelly. I'm sure there's a lot of Reckless Kelly fans out there. I love him to death. So you've probably kind of been around to like maybe the Culture Walls and and
yes,
Dusty
ma'am.
Vaquero, JB, that whole scene.
Yeah, that's all my pals. So
very cool.
Yeah.
I'm currently I'm like 50 pages away from being done with his book. I picked it up about a month ago and have read through it and love it. Almost done.
He's an interesting character. Yeah. He's well traveled. It's the only friend of mine that I can talk about Mongolia with, and I don't know anything about Mongolia, but he does.
Yeah, he does. He got a whole chapter in there.
Yeah.
Saying you've never been there, you just like
Nope. I live vicariously through Jake's stories.
Yeah. Doesn't everybody? Yeah, all those stories in there are so interesting. I'm in like the South Africa stories right now.
Yeah.
Also very interesting. I spent like a month in South Africa, definitely not seeing the side that he's writing about, but interesting spot.
Yeah. Have you seen the reindeer picture?
I've seen the reindeer picture. Yeah. He's on the reindeer. And that's the like book cover too, but it's animated. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Super cool. Maybe one day I'll ride a reindeer. So you grew up in kind of like the ranching background. So you're raised on a range. Kind of talk to us about where you're from and how you're raised.
Well, like I said, in Cowriting City and anywhere out in West Texas, it's predominantly agriculture, ranching communities, and there's not a whole lot of ways to make a living out there other than that, or you can go work at the prison, or go to school and come back and be a teacher. But my dad, he ranched all his life, and his dad, and the place that I grew up on is about 15 miles south of Cowriting City, and went to a little bitty school out there, and it was just a good way to grow up. I'm glad and grateful that I got to do that and fortunate enough to do that, and it shaped, I'm still able to, when I'm home, we sold all of our cattle after my dad passed away, but I've still got neighbors and stuff, and so when I'm home, I'm still able to go kind of be enveloped in that life when I'm off the road, and
that's great.
It keeps me humble.
Yeah, for sure. So it was mostly cattle work when you were growing up?
Just cattle, yes, ma'am.
Sorry to hear about your dad. I know that's always tough.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Was it not until later then that you got into music, or was that kind of something that you were raised in and knew you were going to do?
No, so I started playing guitar when I was 11.
Okay.
I had to beg my parents to get me the guitar though, because they they just thought I was going to put it in the closet and forget about it. And,
oh yeah, just don't know thing, is it?
I had to beg them, and my dad got me one out of like a little cheap wholesale catalog, and the guitar was too big for me. I was a small kid.
Yeah.
And I'd have to lay the guitar down in my lap for a little bit. And then I learned to play listening to music videos on TV. There was a show that used to come on VH1 that had like 80s rock videos. And I'd sit next to the TV and listen to it. And that's essentially how I learned how to play. But I didn't start singing until around the pandemic. I didn't even know that I really could sing. So,
oh, you did?
No. And I was still fortunately able to work during that time, the ranching. And then I was working in the oil field with my brother and brother-in-law too.
Okay.
It didn't really slow things down, but there was a bar there. And I actually started playing on my buddy's porch during that time. And my friends were like, man, you should probably try to do this, and I
you got something here.
Yeah, and I don't believe my friends because they're liars sometimes. And I was like, yeah, they're just filling me full of crap. And eventually they convinced me to go to a little bar there in Big Spring, and I started playing just for fun. And then turned into, they had a songwriter night there, and I hadn't even written a song yet and tried to structure one or anything like that. I guess, I don't know, a few weeks later, I come back with a song and started playing, and then every Tuesday I'd go and there'd be more and more people, and I eventually met a guy there that booked around West Texas and stuff, and he had me play some gigs, and then it really, to make a long story short, it's how it just ended up here. It was a kind of a total accident.
Yeah, sometimes there are happy accidents like that. I know this whole thing for me too was very much an accident. I was just like one random day posted a video, and then like a bunch of people saw it. Like, well, maybe something's here, You never know. So how did you like discover you had a good voice? Was it just like you kind of sing in the shower one day?
Like, I think I can just sing in the right key on certain things. I don't know. It was just like I said, I've got my friends were like, man, you really don't sound bad. And I'm like, yeah, I don't think so. But I don't know. I just do what I can to get by.
I hear you. Well, it's definitely working for you. I love your stuff, by the way, which I haven't said yet, and I definitely do. But it definitely feels like a very natural talent. Some people just have that. They sound great without really having to try. And then songwriting is such a skill. It's such a skill. How do you approach your songwriting style? Is it very much like storytelling, experiential? How do you go about penning a song?
From my experience, it's all been something that I've either gone through or lived through, and it might come in that instant, or it might come, months after I've gone through it. But it's definitely from a storytelling perspective, and I try to just write from a place that's honest.
Yeah.
And I love concept writing too. It's not something fiction writing, I guess you could say. I'm not good at making up a story about somebody, going and doing something, writing a song about it. I wish I was, because I do love those types of songs. But everything right now is just, my muse is just from things that I've experienced.
That's great. Very authentic approach to it, which I feel is missing a lot these days, is just like the authenticity and the storytelling, stuff that people have really lived and are like truly enveloping the life that they are. And I mean, obviously you're legit cowboy, Western, love that way of life. And that really alludes in your songs, which is very cool.
Yes, ma'am.
Nice. Is there a specific venue in Texas that you love to play?
Oh, God, there's a lot of them. And I'm lucky that I was able to play at some of the ones I never thought that I'd see.
Yeah.
The Continental Club in Austin, that's a good one. That's a special place. That was the first place I ever I got a residency at. And
nice.
Got to play Billy Bob's. That was a lot of fun. Yeah. And John T. Floors and Helotes, lots of cool, iconic venues that I never thought, 4 years ago that I'd even set my feet on that stage.
Yeah. So. I haven't been to Billy Bob's yet, but it's definitely on the list.
Yeah.
It looks so cool.
It's huge.
I haven't been to Lukenbach either, but
oh yeah, Lukenbach too. I've played Lukenbach several times, and that's a really cool place too. It's special.
Yeah. Oh yeah, lots of history there.
Yes, ma'am.
My gosh. And so you were in rodeo too for a while growing up. What discipline was it, like roping, reining?
I rode bulls.
Bulls?
Yes, ma'am.
Dang, that's brave.
I'm not doing it no more. But yeah.
There wasn't an injury thing. It was just like you moved.
It was injuries just kind of piled up. I went to college on a rodeo scholarship.
Oh, did you?
But I was getting hurt kind of towards the end of that, and I started sucking, and I don't like to do that. But I still have my friends from my rodeo and stuff, and they're still, when I go play a show, they might roll in 15, 20 deep, they're still it's a family, and there's a lot of camaraderie in that sport. And you know, even if you've been out of it for 10 years or longer, you know, those friends are for life.
Yeah, you're always part of the community.
Yes, ma'am.
And it seems like it's very hard on the body, obviously, from what I've seen.
It can be.
Like it's really tough.
It can be.
Yeah. I always tell myself that that's like the life I was meant to be born into. I mean, I had horses growing up, and I got this Palomino quarter horse when I was like 7, and I was so set on just like being the best barrel racer in the world. It didn't happen, but it was a dream.
It's a dream. That's all right. It's never too late. I've seen people get started in that, you know, maybe not in rough stock, but you know, barrel racing and roping and stuff like that. I don't think it's ever too late.
That's good. That gives me hope. So I'm 32, so I'll be showing up to these rodeos like 36-year-old. Just like, we compete barrel racing, beat all these people that are like half my age.
Yeah, just got to give it gas all the time.
We'll give it a shot maybe one of these days. I have to get horses again first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Being well mounted helps.
Yeah, it does.
Sure.
Actually having one. Being back and forth all the time though, it's like I just got chickens.
Oh.
So yeah, now I feel a little bit more legit because I just had dogs and cats. Now I've got 14 chickens, and I'm just like, this is a full-time job in itself.
Oh man, I can't. Yeah, chickens are a lot to keep up with.
They are. I've never seen an animal that shits as much as a chicken.
That too. That too. And you got to watch them. You don't put them in, you'll be short a few chickens the next day. Yeah.
Yeah. Especially out where I live, there's coyotes, hawks, all the things. So
oh yeah.
I'm sure one of these days I'll learn my lesson, but not yet. There's still 14 of them. Hopefully we'll make it through with 14.
Yeah, I hope so.
So your music is definitely like as country western as they can get, and there's lots of, you know, like subgenre people that could explain what your sound is, but is that what you consider like your sound to be first and foremost?
Yeah, I really, you know, if genre wise, I wouldn't know how to categorize it because people ask me that all the time.
Yeah.
You know, country and western, and I think a lot of that just has to do with my background. But, you know, I really pride myself on the songwriter aspect of it, and first and foremost, and that's where I'd like to, when people ask, I just say it's singer-songwriter.
Singer-songwriter.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. I feel like at the end, I guess, of your career, then looking back, like being a good songwriter is something that will always keep a legacy.
That's what I think about the most. As being remembered as something like that.
Nice. And just telling the good stories.
Right.
And I was driving once, I guess, so your album Spade came out end of February, right? So I was listening to it in the car once, and I had someone with me, and they were like, is this Ryan Bingham? I was like, no, it's not actually. So you hear a little bit of Ryan in your voice.
I get that a lot.
Yeah, do you? That's awesome.
Yeah.
Very cool. But of course, you know, you're building a sound all your own, especially through like all the different influences it feels like you're putting together. Who are some of your influences, like singer-songwriter or musician, anything?
So where I grew up out there, like I said, talking about like a scene, the Texas scene and things like that. There's a guy named Joe Ely and Terry Allen. They were songwriters, and Joe Ely is an entertainer also in his own right, but they're from Lubbock, which is an hour and a half north of me, I guess. And, you know, they were doing and saying things and singing songs back in the, you know, 70s, 80s, and that nobody was really doing that, saying what they were saying. And Joe he actually did some stuff with the Clash too during the 80s, which was really really cool. So they were giants out where I was from, and everybody knew them, and my mom was always a big fan of them, and so I started listening to them. Joe really early, I guess, and Terry a little bit later, and then Guy Clark, you know, Townes Van Zandt, Jackson Brown, those are just songwriters, you know.
Yeah, very much. Those are all great ones. And so do you do a lot of co-writing, or is most of your songs just like yourself?
Most of them are mine. I've co-written with my brother, Dakota.
Okay.
But we're a lot alike in that sense, and that's the only person I've ever co-written with. You know, I've talked with other people about it, and that's something potentially I'd like to do. So.
Yeah. Well, when in Nash, there's always a lot of opportunities around here to do that stuff. Very cool. So let's talk about then your album Spade. So debut album. How long did it take to put that project together?
It took a lot longer than people realized. So I wrote those songs back in 21, 22.
Oh, wow.
And I started recording in 22. And I had a lot of personal things going on too that would put the project on halt, and stuff that I just had to take care of. And it took a lot longer, but I was patient with it, and I'm glad that I was. But
good things
so
take time.
It took 3 years
to
get it out. So
yeah. But you've probably been working on those songs for, longer than that too, and just
Right.
figuring out how to put them together and tell the story.
Yeah, it's funny hearing them back now because, I was in such a different headspace at that time when I was writing them, and I was fresh off of going through some stuff, and I listened back and I'm like, wow, that's kind of dramatic. But at the time, that was my muse for writing, and I'm proud of them. Good. For sure.
Should be. It's easily one of the top 10 albums of the year so far, I think. You. I just did a video on that and 100% put that on there because I was like, I love all 10 of these songs.
Thank you.
We interrupt this chat to take a quick break to give a shout out to our sponsor, Modern West Media, the marketing agency for the Western world. If you're a ranch owner, rodeo host, brand, horse trainer, online equine coach, or anyone taking the spirit of the West and keeping it alive, these are the folks that you want in your corner. They don't just run ads, they understand the culture. From digital campaigns to brand strategy, Modern West Media helps Western businesses grow without losing what makes them real. So if you're ready to reach more of the right people, head to www.modernwestmedia.com and book your free marketing audit. All right. How did it feel then as soon as it was out? Just cutting that project and it was out and it was released into the world. How did that feel? Relieving, stressful?
It was relieving. Yeah. Because I'd been waiting for a long time to finally get that out, and it was getting to a point where I don't get frustrated about a lot, but it was getting to a point where I was just kind of chomping at the bit. And once it was finally out, it was a huge weight lifted off my shoulders.
Sometimes we're our own worst critics. So we keep listening back and you're like, ooh, this could be better, or this could be better. And then eventually you just have to let it go. Just put it out.
It's out there now, so you can't change anything about it.
What's the reception been like? I think very good.
Very good, yeah. Good. I was honestly really shocked at that. Yeah. I wasn't expecting that kind of reception at all. Yeah. So I'm just grateful.
And I'm sure a lot of opportunities came from that too.
Yes, ma'am.
Which is great. And I did see an All Country News quote. It was it seemed like that album came from more of a seasoned troubadour than somebody who's relatively new to the game, which I like because I do agree that it feels like just listening through the songs, it feels like, you've been doing this for forever. Right.
Well, thank you.
Which is awesome.
Thank you.
How do you feel about that sort of thing?
I don't know. I appreciated that quote because that was really a lot of kind words in that whole article too. But that's the kind of stuff I'd like to hear. And my stories, I just hope that the songs that I've written, if they can help somebody or resonate with them in any way, that's all I could really hope for. So
and it seems like through those songs you've lived a lot more lives than you actually have, which is really interesting. A lot of different perspectives.
It's that's what I get at when I say I try to write honestly, and there's been rough patches, but there's always light comes with that, and it's cathartic for the songwriting process, I think.
Silver lining all the time. Right. Do you have a song of yours that you've written on that album or not that you feel like is your most favorite, or it hits you the hardest?
Well, I think by the time you listen back to your songs enough, the mixes, you're just tired of hearing them by the time the album gets out. But I think probably one of the most special songs is there's a song on there called Downpour. Yeah. And I wrote that. So my dad said he wasn't a real big music guy, and we'd listen to the Ag Report at 6 a.m. and he'd turn the radio off and we'd just listen to the AC all day. So when I started playing music out, he just didn't care. I'd be out late, but if I was going to help him the next day and I was kind of dragging ass, he'd be like, oh yeah, it's because you're staying out partying, and he finally came. My mom drug him to a show in Big Spring that I had there, and he came and watched me one time, and he unfortunately passed 2 weeks later, so he never got to see it go beyond that.
Oh wow.
So I guess about 4 or 5 months after he passed away, I wrote that song, and it was kind of just everything that was on my mind at the time, and just came out, and it was one of the tougher ones to get out, but but I'm glad I did.
Dang, when you listen back to your songs, does it re-invoke some of those emotions, or is it still more just that's out, that's
I kind of once I've kind of got it out, I've gone through it enough and sang it enough to where it's kind of just it's out there. I try not to think about it too much.
It's always interesting, I think, artist perspectives on that. It's when you re-listen back to your songs, does it put you back in that spot, or are you kind of more just looking at how far you've come since writing that song?
Yeah, definitely. Just thinking back, like I said, to the headspace that I was in, I couldn't even remember some of those times to where I don't even know how I'd come up with some of those words or where I was at mentally, but
but you made it through and you're in a different spot.
Absolutely.
And now more stories to tell.
For sure. That's
Speaking
for
of,
sure.
what are you working on this year? Anything, any more new music, tour, anything coming up?
I've got some shows this summer, and
Nice.
I'm going to try to book something out to kind of promote the record. And
Yeah.
I'm in talks about doing some new music. I've got a friend or a couple friends, and I thought about doing like an EP with some of those guys, and where each track I've got, a friend featured on it, and we either write a song or do one of their songs or something like that.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Like just a full collaborative EP.
Yeah,
Like
just
you
with
and
some of
Coulter,
my
you and
buddies.
Sterling, you play a lot with Zach, right?
Yeah, Zach.
Yeah,
Man.
that'd be a good one. I'd listen to that all the time. Huh.
Yeah, Zach's one of my best friends. He doesn't live far from me either, so it's
Cool.
nice.
Yeah, that's good when everyone in the community is kind of like close to each other. Lots of collaboration, I'm sure, and friend stuff to be had.
Oh yeah.
What's a music goal of yours? Like somebody to play with, maybe having a headlining tour, a certain venue to play. Is there anything you can think on that's like something you're really working towards?
I just hope that I'm doing the best that I can to my ability right now, and then we'll see. But yeah, I like to play with my friends like Zach, and we'll do some shows and some runs together. And if the opportunity presents itself, and there've been several times where I've been asked to open for somebody that I really like, and things like that I really appreciate. But I kind of just go with the flow and hope for the best. Yeah.
Well, it still feels like it's working out. I saw that you did some shows with Vincent. Neil Emerson, he's great, and Summer Dean too. Love her to
Yeah, they're both fantastic, and just they're good people.
Yeah,
really good people.
So nice. I know I met Summer at Americana, not this past year because I didn't have it, but the year before. Her story about like being a teacher first, and now she's a really successful musician later in life. Like gives hope to everyone.
Yeah, she's one of the most hospitable people.
Yeah.
She put up with me and a friend a few years ago. We had to stay with her in Fort Worth during the rodeo, and
oh man,
she opened her house up to us.
Oh, that's
and
nice.
Maybe much to her regret, but she's one of those people. She's so hospitable and kind, and she's kind enough to put up with us for a whole weekend.
Yeah,
there, and
good for her.
Yeah, she's great though. She's so good.
He's like, maybe she regretted the hospitality on that.
Yeah, she might have. I think she does, but no, she's always been so kind to me since I've known her for 4 years now, probably, and she's always been great to me.
And do you play a lot of rodeos too? And like, are you playing on the rodeo circuit a lot too?
I've played a handful of them. Yes, ma'am. And if more come, I'll definitely play them. That feels at home. So
is radio something that you're like looking towards accomplishing, or do you kind of like indifferent about?
Like to. I'd like to have some songs I have themes or words that aren't radio friendly.
Yeah.
But there's a few songs that have from the record that's been doing okay, and the title track does okay on the radio. We've edited the bad words out, and
the family-friendly version.
Yeah.
Got to take the E off of the.
Yeah, you do.
And so you're doing also. Are you playing Dusty Your Carol Days this year?
Ma'am.
So you'll be in Wyoming at the end of May.
Yes, ma'am.
Nice. I'm trying so hard to make it out there. It's like I just decided that I was going to do Old Sod Fest this year because I was going to do it last year, and now I'm 100% going to do it this year. And I know that that's coming like 3 weeks before.
Right.
Like, do I have time to do both?
Just stay up there and have a good time.
I'm just going to stay up there the whole month. I know. What am I going to do with the chickens? I can't take them with me.
Rent you a van. Put the chickens in the van.
Oh my gosh. 2 cats, 2 dogs, 14 chickens in a van. That's crowded.
Get you a Sprinter.
Get a Sprinter van. I'll have to haul them behind me in like a U-Haul.
You could go find a farmer's market or something around there and bring your eggs to it.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Every stop along the way, just like kind of sit next to the van with some eggs for sale, and they'll just like get me from one.
People do that all the time.
Maybe I should pick that up. Be like a traveling egg salesman along with doing this. Nice. Was there anything else that you want people to know, like about your music or things that you want to portray through your songs? Like, what should people know who are just new to your sound or to your music?
I just hope that it's something that they can resonate with.
Yeah.
That's really all that I can hope for, and I hope that they enjoy it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Definitely. Well, I'm sure they do, and I appreciate your time. Looking forward to see you play out sometime somewhere at a show I'm sure I'll make. But yeah, I appreciate it, guys. Make sure you go check out his album Spade, stream everywhere you get your music, find him on the road sometime this year, and make sure, you take a listen.
All right. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yes, ma'am.
Thanks, guys.